long ago, these feet were shod. Once long ago, they turned homeward at evening to shelter and warmth and for faces, to firesides, synagogues, light and laughter and prayers. These are the remnants of a people. Let them represent the 1.5 million European Jews, incredibly alive, hardly a fraction more alive than when their 6 million brothers were starved and burned to death. Look homeward, wanderers. Perhaps you once knew love and hope here in Warsaw's ghetto. The remnant of a people. Study them well. These are the intellectual descendants of philosophers and scientists and musicians, of Heine and Spinoza and Mendelssohn, of Disraeli and Einstein. There is no culture, no religion that is without its debt to them. What of our obligation then? We are survivors too of rope and bludgeon. Yes, of Buchenwald and Bergen, Belsen and of Nordhausen and Dachau. But for some accident of birth or lucky migration, we might have a role in this wretchedness. Who then holds the pulmotor? Who will bind the wounds? For these there is but one hope, the United Jewish Appeal, whose world leaders met at Atlantic City to plan $100 million drive. These testify. Robert Garzon, France, chief of the Jewish Maquis. Paul Philipson, Belgium, Allied officer. Salo Klerkopper of Holland, underground fighter. Renzo Levi of Italy, foe of fascists. Eliezer Kaplan, treasurer of the Jewish Agency for Palestine. Dr. Abraham Granovsky, director of the Jewish National Front. Leo Herman, Palestine Foundation Fund secretary. Paul Berwald, honorary chairman of the United Jewish Appeal. Edmund I. Kaufman, whose committee organized the National Conference. William Rosenwald, national chairman of the United Jewish Appeal. Edward Warburg, chairman of the Joint Distribution Committee. And Joseph Rosensaft, frail flame of a man. Consider now all loved ones murdered in battles of Polish ghettos, then the ingenious tortures of 6 concentration camps. They have not defeated him. And now, an objective analyst, Earl C. Harrison, surveyed the displaced for President Truman.
Gratifying as they are, the convictions of the Nazi ringleaders does not discharge our responsibilities toward their victims. The evil these men did will live after them. America and we as individual citizens must take aggressive leadership in the long task that will be involved in replacing hate and destruction with friendship and real help toward rehabilitation. Sympathy and tears are idle. The actual need, the real need, is for food and clothes and medicine. Democracy demonstrated that it could meet the challenge of war at every point. Whether we can meet the opportunity for real peace will depend in large measure upon how much we do for those victimized by war and aggression.
And now, your leader in the battle for survival overseas, Dr. Joseph Schwartz, European Director of JDC.
Bad as the situation is in the camps of Germany and Austria, meager and insufficient as is their diet, I can state to you that many of the Jews in Hungary and in Poland are eating less and are receiving a less varied diet than is being given to the internees today. Of the 80,000 Jews who have survived in Poland today, at least 70,000 require assistance.
Oh, the number is tragically small, but the need immeasurably greater than ever before. For them, JDC alone halts the hand of death. Now, just 10%, 150,000 of the pre-Hitler Jewish children are left in Europe today. How tenuous is their hold on life, how vulnerable to TB and pellagra, how spiritually empty, how unlettered, how unlearned in the faith. You, from your safe vantage, never may quite comprehend. You are looking at JDC victories of the current year, relief victories for 100,000 Jews in Romania and many thousands more in 25 lands of the continent. Be proud you've saved 65,000 children, but 85,000 remain unreached. The children of Buchenwald, a trainload, a few hundreds, somewhere in France, en route to Marseille in Palestine, from a capital of savagery unparalleled in history. Human gleanings from the slaughterhouse and furnace, tiny fraction of 1% of the thousands slaughtered. We commence, say these orphans, a new life of liberty, tasting first freedom, flying the flag of Zion. Rejoice then in their hopefulness, their appearance of well-being. You very likely contributed to it, for these have had 4 months of JDC medical care. 1.5 million like these to save. Once Hitler had the decision of life or death. Now, that decision is ours. First to study displaced persons at war's end was Colonel Judah Nadich, senior ETO chaplain, General Eisenhower's advisor on Jewish affairs.
The displaced persons themselves will tell you that it is far more important to understand their desires for tomorrow. Only one land can heal them psychically and morally. Only one land can give them a sense of dignity and the desire for living again. Only one land can raise them from the depths of despair to the height of hope. Palestine.
Palestine and the tang of freedom. The one land on this planet which unburdens the European Jewish immigrant of bleak forebodings, inherited anxieties, ancient defenses. Here, he builds for tomorrow's newcomer as yesterday's pioneer built for him. Among the dunes that have known no human habitation for ages, he bravely undertakes the improbable to make the desert flower. He has every rightful expectation of success, for on stony landscapes like this, through 4 decades of modern engineering, through 40 years of planning and complete unity of enterprise, he joyously has succeeded in superimposing this shining metropolis, this Tel Aviv, this all-Jewish Tel Aviv, the finest city of the Middle East. Industries, too, have been built on the ancient soil of Palestine. He's had to build his own, like this infant fishing fleet. A 7-year growth from little more than nothing to $1 million annual return. Last year, he manufactured textiles sufficient for export. $2 million in wool, cotton, silk. And now, as we begin to glimpse some of the 70,000 children of the Vadlumi's 600 Jewish schools, it may be well to conjure back the shame of a Bergen-Belsen. For here, if we make it so, here student nurses cherish the undamaged seed preserved at heaven knows what cost, to render all the Bergen-Belsens futile at last. While science, to safeguard the heritage of health, to study the soil and realize its potential fertility, serves great agricultural schools, For integrated always with classic Hebrew learning is farm training. 1/4 of Palestine's 600,000 live by the land. Through all the history of this people runs the Jordan, and in tomorrow's JVA, modeled on our own TVA, they see it reclaiming millions of acres, making an agrarian homeland for millions to come. Irrigation already has given the Jewish farmer miraculous gains, a doubled grain and vegetable yield within 7 years. All Europe knows and soon will taste again the superb golden apple, the Palestinian orange. Do you by any fancy construe the dollars of this drive allocated to the United Palestine Appeal for rehabilitation of these people as charity? 400,000 Jews precisely like these have been resettled since Hitler. What charity ever wove 400,000 dispossessed into the ever-expanding fabric of work, faith, freedom that is Palestine? The third agency of rescue is the NRS. Vice President Edwin Rosenberg speaks for it.
Through the past years of suffering, the work of the National Refugee Service has represented the effort of American Jews to assist those on their own doorstep. The agency, in collaboration with communities throughout the country, has proven that it is possible to bring about rapid and orderly adjustment of 250,000 immigrants arriving under particularly difficult circumstances during a time of public stress. The success of the program has been a practical demonstration to the United States government of what American Jewish communities can do. It provides a continuing assurance that they are able and willing to help those who may come to this country in the future.
President Truman's directive on immigration will bring additional thousands like these to the United States. It reaffirms the American tradition of asylum, but it also places a great responsibility on the American Jewish community and its agency, the NRS. If we will it, they, the displaced and the hounded, will come to our shores and we will welcome them. We will make them whole again. We will restore them to their trades and professions. NRS will sustain them, show them the road to freedom, the refugee, the American in the making. You'll find him prized in many crafts, discovered for him, often taught him by NRS, along with the most cherished achievement, U.S. citizenship. And now, President Truman's directive for extension of immigration to the full statutory quota officially commends a shining record. And now a woman's compassion reflects Jury's estate in Europe. Mrs. David M. Levy, National Women's Division Chairman.
I dare say to you bluntly what I'm about to say because I've said it to myself. Do you care enough? Have you sacrificed? I have heard, and I'm ashamed to say it, I've heard discussions about taxes. How we could stage the campaign so people could profit by tax returns. I think that's insulting. I think it's insulting to us who want to give, and I think it debases the whole problem. This is no time to think in terms of taxes or of small giving. As Dr. Schwartz spoke of the man who said to him, I have been hurt, I have lost a sense of dignity because I have suffered so much. That is the worst thing that could happen. I thought to myself, beware that we do not lose our sense of dignity, isolated here in our prosperous security. Unless you care enough and unless I care enough, we cannot succeed in this great undertaking. Not one of us, and I say that, I think, advisedly, and not one of us, including myself, has ever made one real sacrifice for this cause. some of us have felt very good. Some of us have felt that we've given generously. Has one of us changed one iota our mode of living? Has one of us sacrificed anything that we really wanted in a material sense for these, our suffering, bleeding, starving, persecuted people? And I think the answer is no.
$100 million. Europe, Palestine, refugees in America. Can we spare it, or can we allow to be repeated Jeremiah's lamentation? For these things I weep, because the comforter that should relieve my soul is far from me. My children are desolate, because the enemy prevails.